Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Azure podcast with your host Sam Foote.
And Ian Armstrong.
If you're new here, we're a pair of Azure and Microsoft 365 focused IT security professionals. It's episode 15 of season 6. Alan and I recently had a discussion around the new releases in May. Here are a few things that we covered. Key Microsoft Entra, Intune and Defender XDR features, updates and announcements. Azure changes new features and requirements. We've noticed that a large number of you aren't subscribed. If you do enjoy our podcast, please do consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to us for you to show your support to the show. It's a really great episode, so let's get started. Hey Alan, how are you this week?
Hey Sam, not doing too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad, thank you. Anything exciting happening in your world at the moment?
No, just super busy. Couldn't do a podcast last week, unfortunately, because I was in London at InfoSec.
Oh yeah, how was InfoSec?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, they're all week this time. And Julian, a colleague of ours, did a thing on the talk on the stand. So, but yeah, it was busy. I'm not going to say weirdly, but maybe weirdly, it was more busy on the Wednesday than the first day, Tuesday.
Okay.
But whether everyone was deciding not to hit the mad rush at the beginning and then they all hit each other in the in the midweek, I don't know. But yeah, there's lots of vendors. A few, you kind of expected that weren't there, and others that were new. Lots of everything with AI in their product, as you can imagine.
What's that?
It's just names of companies AI at the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do see the walls closing in, to be totally honest with you, because it's just like it seems like every single job function possible and every process has to be automated or AI'd in some way, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like I saw I know it's not really to do with security or Microsoft really, it's more just a general thing. I saw what we believed to be an AI generated like outreach video on LinkedIn sent to somebody in a direct message. So instead of just you getting some sort of spam from some vendor on LinkedIn, it was actually a personalized recorded video. But it felt too AI to me. So it's like, it would say like it would be like a real person's face, or with a backdrop like they're recording on their webcam, and it would say like, "Hey Alan, have you tried our new product? It's X, Y, and Z. I'd love to have 5 minutes with you. If you could just let me know if you'd be interested, that would be great." And you're like, okay. So I just think it just feels like it's everywhere. If that makes not just in marketing, but in the real, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's definitely more of it.
And don't get me wrong, I think some of it is, it's got real promise and real show. Do you know what I mean? It's going to save a lot of people a lot of time. I think it'll just take time for it to mature and be as effective as possible.
I think there's an article saying that Barclays Bank now are rolling out Copilot for 365 to 100,000 staff members.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
To save money on, mundane tasks, I suppose.
Yeah, and to be fair, Copilot, when you never need to search for anything ever again. It's like SharePoint search on steroids. It's amazing. Like, I'm not currently licensed for it. I do miss it, to be totally honest with you.
No. Yeah, it's great, Sam. It is great.
It is, though. I agree. It's amazing. Only because I'm just super unorganized, and even when things are organized into teams, it's still just as complicated for me anyway. Trying to remember where things are. So yeah, I'm actually a big, I don't know, if for like service based knowledge workers, I do actually genuinely think it is worth the money. Like, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I think it is actually worth it. But
Yeah.
if you're licensing 100,000 people, that's very expensive, isn't it? You know, because like we struggle to convince people to like buy your E5s or your E5 step ups, right? This is like, it's
Yeah,
like
that's like 970 a user.
yeah,
Yeah, this is 20
exactly.
quid. Yeah.
Yeah, but if there's money to be made or saved, then it's just an ROI conversation, then, isn't it? It's not a
True.
overhead cost, is it? So
True.
yeah, nice. Right, Alan. News in May. Do you wanna kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So start with the Defender XDR in general. So in May, there's a couple in here. In preview, in advanced hunting, you can now view all user-defined rules, both custom detection rules and analytic rules, in the detection rules page. So I'm guessing this is starting to bring it all together even more. You can change it by column as well, because it's also potentially scoped by organization in the multi-tenant sort of views, as well as which workspace by workspace ID it's sitting in.
Nice.
Yep. You can now identify the impact. Let me just read this. You can now highlight your security operations achievements and the impact of the Microsoft Defender using the unified security summary, apparently. So there's more visualization of how the SOC team are sort of doing in reporting. Defender portal users who have onboarded Microsoft Sentinel and have enabled the user and entity behavior analytics can now take advantage of the new unified identity information table in the advanced hunting. So previously that was probably just in Sentinel, but now it's pulling the data from Defender for Identity, I guess, which was part of it as well, but I'm guessing from probably Defender for Cloud Apps and all the different data, all the different identities you might have in your SaaS services that you've connected it to.
Nice.
There's a preview about looking through Microsoft Team events. So you've got messaging events, message post delivery events, and message URL information. So I think we had some of that for email. So this is Defender for Office sort of I guess back-end data now being surfaced to you, so you can see events. I'm guessing you're not going to be able to identify the content of those, but at least be able to say whose message, when messages were sent and things like that in there. So that's Defender XDR. The unified security operations part, so that's the integration of Sentinel and things like that into the same place. You've got the unified role-based access control in multi-tenant management. So now it's available. So you can now create, delete, import, and edit roles in the multi-tenant management portal now for each tenant. So you don't have to go to each individual now. So that's interesting. All Microsoft Sentinel use cases are now generally available in the Defender portal. So including multi-tenant, multi-workspace scenarios.
Nice.
Case management in Defender is now available for Defender multi-tenant portal. So being able to see all your case or creating cases from incidents across multiple subscription or multiple tenants or multiple customers. So that's an interesting scenario, because we might be using a different ITSM tool at the moment to manage your tickets, and maybe the case management bit is maybe becoming
Good enough.
Good enough, or enough to then do other things with.
Yeah.
I've not looked at that, to be fair, but I know others in ITC are looking at it. So that was it for the unified bit. What's next? So we've got Defender for Office. There are some stuff. There wasn't anything for Defender for Endpoint this month. Not generally. There may have been something for individual OSs maybe, but nothing significant for in the service itself this month. But in May, I get the in government cloud environments, take action replaces the message action drop down list on the email tab, apparently, which is different. I don't know why it needs to be different for government.
But... That's a highly specific thing.
Well, yeah. There's a few bits underneath where they've changed it. For 100 or fewer messages selected in the Threat Explorer, SecOps personnel can take multiple actions on selected messages from the same page. For example, purge email messages or purge email or propose email remediation, submit messages to Microsoft, triage investigation. So I get the feeling the tabbing is wrong though, because I feel like they're all new ones and not just under the government bit. But could be wrong. Yeah, moving on to Defender for Identity. We can't talk about June yet because there's some interesting ones on there. Expanded new sensor deployment support for domain controllers for the new sensor. So I'm guessing they've expanded this out to maybe new OSs. No, it doesn't say yet. It's still 2019 or above. So there must be some more simplified sort of activation with that. They've improved the visibility into Defender for Identity new sensor eligibility in the activation page. So it also shows you non-eligible servers as well, from the look of it. Something that's already happened, but the local administrator collection, the SAM-R queries feature has now been disabled due to a potential vulnerability. So that's now been turned off, so you can remove your configuration for that if you need to. But Microsoft have in effect turned off their use of it in mid-May. And then potentially looking at alternative methods at the moment. And they've created a new health issue for it, an alert. When the sensor's running on VMware having network connectivity or network configuration mismatch. So that might be where if you're if you've got a full-fledged sensor maybe, and you're doing a span port or mirrored port maybe to collect all the data from that side. That was it for that. June's going to be interesting. That was the Defender for Identity stuff. Defender for Cloud Apps. They've I think I've talked about this before, actually, to be fair, but new application inventory page now available in Defender XDR. So under your assets, you've now got applications, so it's showing all your SaaS and connected OAuth applications in there, as well as and that's including stuff that's been discovered by the cloud discovery part of it as well. So that's quite good to bring it all in one place. They're making changes to the Defender for Cloud App SIEM agent availability. So because of the integrations with Defender XDR now, and the data and effect, all the alerts coming out of it now going into the into the native Defender XDR, they don't necessarily need the standalone connector that was originally when it was its own product, or in its own portal kind of thing. So that is being deprecated or being changed. It's been deprecated in November 25. So if you are using that mechanism, you need to move to using the Defender XDR streaming. And supposedly there's a new and improved Cloud Apps catalog page, which is true. So yeah, there's a new list. It just shows it. It kind of brings it into the same style as the Defender XDR pool, providing a bit, a cleaner view of the app catalog from that side. Moving on. Was going to say, so we're looking at Sentinel now, but I think a lot of it might be, so all Sentinel use cases in the Defender XDR pool, which I talked about earlier. They talk about the new identity information table being combined in the XDR portal. And then the only other one in here is additions to SOC optimization support. So it does AI MITRE ATT&CK tagging recommendations. Use artificial intelligence to suggest tagging security detections with MITRE ATT&CK tactics and techniques. And risk-based recommendations, recommended implementing controls to address coverage gaps linked to use cases that may result in business risk or financial loss, include operational, financial, reputational, compliance, and legal risks. So that's good. Purview. So I've seen this actually in my pool recently, but there's a new audit pay-as-you-go billing requirements to support audit logs from certain kinds of Copilot data. So I've seen a lot in the portal now. You may need to, in fact, it's in the next parts as well, actually. So yeah, there's new pay-as-you-go billing potentially needed for grabbing those logs, and it comes out of public preview, I guess, and going to GA. The example is that in communication compliance, new communication compliance pay-as-you-go billing required for supporting of generative AI interactions. So being able to log all the interactions from from Copilot or from other generative AI services where you've got the Purview connector in Edge or Chrome, be able to see what people are injecting or prompting, I should say. You need now to pay X amount per, I guess, collection of data now.
So it's not the same for other log sources, like Teams messages for communication compliance, as an example. Just generative AI.
No, I think it's all. I think it's all third party services. So things like if you hook up AWS, Azure ADLS. I don't know what ADLS is. Is that data? I don't know. I'm not going to butcher that. Azure SQL, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, or Microsoft Fabric. If you're directly connecting them to Purview.
Okay, so anything that isn't like 365 Purview, I'll call it. So, yeah, okay. Anything external to that.
Yeah, I'm just checking. On-demand classification, that's in preview. So if you want to do a mass classification manually once in SharePoint and OneDrive, you have to basically pay as you go for that bit.
Okay.
We know about Security Copilot. We always knew that was going to be pay as you go anyway. Network data security. Request from an endpoint device to a website, cloud app, or generative AI app. Number of requests sent from the endpoint device to the website is the unit of measure.
Right, okay.
And then there is data security for Gen AI applications. Applies to classification and protection of sensitive content for non-Microsoft 365 AI interactions, prompt and responses. So if you want to protect other Gen AI services on your endpoint, you've got to pay for the ingestion of data.
Okay, so is it fair to say anything in Purview that isn't Exchange, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint is now on a pay-as-you-go billing metric? If you want to retain data. Yeah, so your license covers you for, 365 data sources. which does kind of make sense because when we had Azure Purview and Governance Portal, that was the same metric essentially, wasn't it? Because that was anything external you paid for on a consumption basis.
Yeah, exactly. So
they've brought that functionality into, I'll call it 365 Purview world, and then added pay-as-you-go billing onto it.
Yeah, so I set this up the other day because I was trying to test out some other bits, and it creates the Purview account in.
Oh, fine. It just uses that. It's just using that. It's just the front end.
Yeah, but I don't think you have to pay the base. Like it was like a minimum, wasn't it? I don't think you do that till you create a catalog or things like that. Now I think you create it so you can use it,
and it's only pay as you go.
As far as I'm aware. I need to go and check my subscription because I've not got anything in it.
No, I'm just thinking that's going to be a bit of a pain for larger customers, isn't it? Pay as you go. But
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if there was all of a sudden a reservation where you could pay up front for X amount of transaction against the Purview account.
Yeah.
That's not been talked about at all, and there's there's no hint of that or anything like that. But based on Sentinel, Defender for Cloud getting those sort of SKUs or reservations, you could kind of predict a little bit. So, but yeah, so there's a lot of that in there. What else is in Purview? Yeah, data loss prevention, in preview, learn. They've just got a link about learn against Microsoft Purview network data security. So, yeah, I probably need to read up on that now. Device onboarding. New. Any mobile device management tool for MD. Any mobile device customer without. Okay, so there's new guides out for onboarding, apparently, as well.
Okay.
And e-discovery, there's a new e-discovery article. Oh, no. There's a new discovery article that outlines the pay-as-you-go requirements for data storage for okay, it's the same thing. So, yeah, if you've got the other data, you can do e-discovery on it. That's why they've got to store it.
Okay, that's cool. That's good.
Makes sense a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's another big value add.
Yeah, Insider Risk also looks at the Gen AI stuff, providing you've got the data.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, I suppose at the moment, the Gen AI stuff at the moment, I mean, it is preview, so maybe this is the billing for it, but you were just getting the activity, or someone did, talk to ChatGPT and, did X amount of prompts maybe against it, and now you're going to be seeing maybe the raw data and storing it. So
yeah, and you want that context if you're investigating, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's just where does it stop? That's the only thing I'm thinking. Like for businesses, and it's not I'm not like dunking on Microsoft here for this pay-as-you-go model, but I'm just thinking like, do data security teams now just have to log every SaaS application that's used? I suppose they need to, really, and they're not doing it today. It's a blind spot for them, right? So this is what they should be looking at, which they're not, isn't it? It's just, it feels like it's going to be like a Wild West, isn't it?
Well, it's that, but also being able to, I suppose, investigate the whole environment and understand whether you're
will it shock teams into fixing shadow IT and shadow AI? Because
less data sources.
Well, yeah, effectively, because your data governance team's going to go, your pay as you go Purview budget's going to come out of your IT budget somehow, isn't it? Right? And they go, oh my god, you're spending thousands upon thousands of pounds, dollars, whatever it is, a month on like logging these interactions. And then the data security team is like, well, if you don't want people to access these generative AI solutions, then block them.
Yeah.
Right? We're only managing them because we're not putting effective controls in place to stop them. Right? And then like the next day, Gemini gets blocked.
If you don't want to pay, then
well, but that's kind of my point. Is like, because ultimately these data teams need to see everything, don't they, to really give a good risk like a risk rating to all of these different data sources. So
it's that it's like you said, if there is a breach, where is that data
correct? Yeah,
used?
Yeah,
but also preventing it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it just feels like I'm just trying to work out in my head, and I need to go and look at this billing model. But how much a typical 100-person company would have to spend to ingest it all? Do you see what I mean? What's the price per head of this type of ingestion for all these third-party services? Right?
Yeah, I mean, it did suggest to me to go to the Azure calculator, which there is a purview bit in there. There always was.
Yeah.
But you've got your data map classic, your data governance, and now you've got data security.
Yeah.
And you got insider risk user activities, in transit protection, and at rest protection.
Right.
And you can put numbers in times days, times X.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is this $5 per user? Is this $20 per user per month? Where is it? I don't know. But great that you can do it. I think that's the most important thing, is that we have the technology to do it, right? Whether you want to pay to do it or not, that's completely up to you. But at least you have the option of using it.
Yeah, I guess it was part of maybe one of the I'm going to not say a downside, but not being able to collect everything sort of scenario with Purview. It was always focused on Microsoft, of course, and it did have some stuff going out to other SQL, is it unstructured data?
Structured data.
Yeah. Those bits, but never maybe not a SaaS service or Gen AI as it's popped up. So cool. So on to Intune. I need to go and find Entra as well. But device security. Oh no, that's this month. Sorry. May. Yeah, there's quite a few things in here, but nothing. I guess exciting, but managed DFCI profiles for Windows devices, which is in I don't know what DFCI device firmware configuration interface. Can manage UEFI BIOS settings for NEC devices now. So there's a new manufacturer they support now, because I think it was Microsoft, Surfaces and Dell, I think was the two, and maybe Lenovo. I can't remember, but it looks like NEC are now one. There's new app protected apps for Intune. So the Windows app, so the AVD, Windows 365, Microsoft Clipchamp, 4CEE Connect by 4CEE Development. I have no idea. Mobile Helix Link for Intune by Mobile Helix. So, yeah, still adding apps to the app protection policies. And within the Intune suite, the endpoint privilege management rules explicitly deny evaluation. So you can also do a file evaluation type of deny. So you can just say, actually, never. You can never elevate that using this service. So that's cool. Yeah, that's probably it for that. Let me just find Entra. Because I'm sure there's a few things in here. This doesn't look like my normal view. If they changed this. Okay, I'll what's new? Sorry, I find it in the end. He says. No, it looks different. Oh, no, here. Sorry. It's terrible, isn't it? Right. Now, this is Entra. This is not what I thought it was. Okay, oh no, okay. I will get to one now. Right, rollout of application-based authentication of Microsoft Entra Connect Sync.
Ah, yes. Great one.
I don't know if that was this month. Oh, it was May. That's good. Yeah, so be able to do, application-based rather than a username, password, or an account that it uses to do the synchronization. So that's now in place. When you install the upgrade, I think you can then check a box to basically convert it.
Nice.
So that's nice and easy. It's generally available now for the analysis or analyzing conditional access policy impact. So when you create them, you can do an impact of which users will get affected by the change. Deployment log support for Global Secure Access. So it's just grabbing you or letting you know what changes in GSA. So if someone's creating making a change to the config or profiles, you can now see all of that side of things. And that was it in there. There was some external ID bits, but I don't want to butcher those ones. But yeah, so that's probably me done, I think. What about you, Sam?
Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're starting Defender for Cloud side. Defender CSPM is starting to bill for Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server and Azure Database for PostSQL Flexible Server resources. I assume they were in preview or not being counted. That the effective change of that is the 1st of June. So if you do have Defender CSPM enabled with those types of resources scoped underneath them, it says on Learn your bill might increase, but I'm going to tell you now your bill will increase. What's generally available now is the Data and AI Security Dashboard. I think we've talked about this previously.
Briefly, I think.
I think so, but it gives you a consolidated, unified view of organizational data and, more importantly, AI resources. Understand where your data is stored and the types of resources that are holding it. Assess the protection coverage of your data and AI resources. Highlight, critical configuration issues. You get severity-based recommendations, alerts, and attack paths as well, and it can help you to visualize sensitive data discovery. So locate and summarize sensitive data resources in your cloud and AI assets. So yeah, go and check it out. It's now generally available. Microsoft Security Copilot is now generally available in Defender for Cloud. I've not used this, so Alan, if you have, please give us some thoughts as well. But essentially, Copilot Security is now, is it called the embedded experience? Is embedded inside of Defender for Cloud, so it can help you to create AI-generated summaries, remediation actions, delegation emails, and guides for users through steps of remediation of what you see. So essentially, an assistant within Defender for Cloud. So if you've got the cash for Copilot for security, it's coming to Defender for Cloud.
To be fair, I have seen it in a customer's tenant today for a remediation. Did see it there. So
thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thumbs down. Yeah. Okay. Alan gives it its seal of approval. If you're rich enough for it. Anyway, a generally available Defender for AI services. Defender for Cloud now supports runtime protection for Azure AI services. This was previously called threat protection for AI workloads. It covers specific threats for AI services, such as jailbreaks, wallet abuse, data exposure, suspicious access patterns, etc. The detections use signals from Microsoft Threat Intelligence and Azure AI Prompt Shields, and applies machine learning and AI to secure your AI services. So it's the AI looking at the AI, looking at the users using AI. Anyway, so if you do have AI services in Azure, you may wish to apply a Defender workload protection to them.
So is that a new SKU?
I believe so. Let me just see. It's generally available now as well. Let me dive into that, Alan. One moment.
I'm just trying to look at my portal.
It is Microsoft Defender for AI services, $0.002 per 1,000 tokens per month.
I don't think 1,000 tokens is a lot, is it?
A token is 4 characters. So, is that right? Something like that. But it is $0.002, so that's like 0.2 of a cent. Is that right? Yes, a 0.2 of a cent. So that's quite cheap. Well, yeah, depends how much you're using. Anyway, I'm going on because I've got a lot to talk about. Sorry. Active user. The active user feature is now public preview. It assists security administrators to quickly identify and assign recommendations to the most relevant users based on recent control plane activity. Each recommendation of up to 3 potential active users are suggested at the resource group, or subscription level. Administrators can select users from a list, assign the recommendation, and set a due date, which then triggers a notification to the assigned users. So, if you have not been applying tags, if you do not have owners in Azure, then maybe this will be helpful to you. And now generally available, we did talk about this previously, on upload malware scanning filters for Defender for storage. So you can now add exclusion rules for on upload malware scans based on blob path prefixes, suffix, as well as by blob size, which this essentially allows you to exclude blobs from on upload malware scanning, so it can save you unnecessary scans and reduce costs. So you can enable malware scanning and then you can disable it for certain things. Sounds dangerous to me. But anyway, you can save money if you don't need it for certain things. Right, now onto Azure. Sorry guys, they've been busy this month. I've had to skip a lot of stuff, so if you work in a Microsoft product team, I apologize if I don't have anything in here, but you guys have been busy. Right, now generally available, enhancements to purchase-related details in cost management for MCA customers. By June, it says, so this apparently has already happened, Microsoft will provide more detailed and accurate information on reservations and Azure savings plans and third-party purchases from the Azure marketplace. So there's loads of extra detail that's essentially being put into the portal. So for things like you can now add tags for marketplace purchases via the Azure portal. You can now see an effective price will populate for purchases. There's also a view of the price difference between your local currency and the dollar amount that it's converted from, and how that got converted. So loads of changes there. So if you do struggle with reporting of those types of costs, could be valuable to you. Good news: Microsoft DevBox is now available in UAE North region. So if you are in the United Arab Emirates and you do want a region local, I'll call it that, DevBox, that is now generally available to you. I'm skipping this one because I've got too many. There's now enhanced cost management exports. So it essentially adds more data into those reports. So you can see things like price sheets, reservation recommendation, reservation details, and reservation transactions. There's different flexible export options now. You can CSV with gzip compression if you want. Parquet with snappy compression, I don't even know what that is, and support for FinOps open cost and usage specification, also known as Focus, format support version 1. I have no idea what FinOps cost and usage specification is, but I assume people in finance do. Customers can configure partitioned files, enable overwrite support, and backfill historical information. Up to 13 months can be backfilled from the Azure portal, or even up to 7 years from the REST API. So for all you absolute Excel nerds that have connected Excel to the cost management REST API, you've got the data that you need. Schema versioning is supported to maintain compatibility if you create data pipelines or you've got existing data pipelines as well. So don't worry, not everything's going to break immediately for you. A retirement notice, Azure Static Web Apps, dedicated pricing plan. Is going to be retired on the 31st of October 2025. If you're using the dedicated pricing plan, you can migrate to the Static Web Apps standard pricing plan or to Azure Container Apps. There is a dedicated page to help provide guidance on how to migrate your deployments. I've never used dedicated pricing plans, so I wouldn't know. Now generally available, I think we talked about this previously, Azure Storage Actions. So it's a fully managed platform that allows you to automate data management tasks from Azure Blob and Data Lake Storage. It's now generally available in certain regions. So I think we did we do a whole episode on that, or did we talk about it in an episode? I'm sure we did.
I think you did a whole episode on it.
I think I did. So anyway, that's now generally available. Now in public preview, continuous patching in Azure Container Registry. So it allows, it automates the detection and remediation of operating system level vulnerabilities in container images. You know, containers will use a base operating system image that they pull from. You can schedule regular scans and apply security fixes to keep your registries, your images up to date of those base operating systems. So that's really good to see. Azure Premium SSD v2 is now generally available in more regions. It's now apparently available in, and the reason why I included this is apparently now available in US West, UK West, Canada East, Australia South East, North Central US, West Central US, Australia Central 2, and Norway West. So I included it because it's like UK West and US West. You would have thought that Premium SSD v2 was already there. Well, it's not, but it isn't. It wasn't, but it is now. So yeah, if you want to upgrade to that, that's definitely worth having a look at. Okay, so now generally available, there's a data API available in vCore-based Azure Cosmos DB for MongoDB. Holy moly, that was a long sentence. Now you can interact with your MongoDB data directly through a simple RESTful HTTPS interface. What that essentially means is you do not have to use like a complex traditional database drivers or using complex queries. The data API gives you a streamlined, user-friendly way to perform basic operations. So if you do just need basic like CRUD support, this is going to help you. And it will help a lot of people connect to these data sources from Power BI as well. Loads of updates to Azure NetApp, by the way. I'm not going to include any of them, but just generally, whoever's on those teams has been doing a lot of work on NetApp, okay? So if you use NetApp, go and look at the Azure updates calendar for NetApp. Retirement. Bing search APIs are being retired on the 11th of August, 2025. Any existing instances of Bing search APIs will be decommissioned completely. and the product will no longer be available for usage or new customer sign up. I don't know anybody that uses this API, but it's a retirement and it's Bing, so I thought I'd keep it in. We now have a public preview for Perth, which is an Azure extended zone. Extended zones, if you don't know, are small footprint extensions of Azure placed directly in cities and metro industry areas, or even a specific jurisdiction to serve low latency and data residency workloads. So yeah, if you want localized applications and resources in Perth, you've got it now. Now generally available, Azure App Configuration now offers a developer pricing plan. It's ideal for development teams looking for, a tier which they can actually use it for their dev workloads. So yeah, go and check that out if that's applicable to you. Now generally available, App Surface Web Jobs on Linux. Web Jobs allow for execution of background tasks and scheduled processes, which, unlike traditional web applications, are not triggered by HTTP request. The Web Jobs feature is generally available for Linux code and container scenarios. So finally, and I say finally because Windows in App Service has had Web Jobs forever. I think it was forever. No, it's been a long time. So it brings feature parity with App Service Windows options. Now, the reason why I included this is because I actually was caught out by this, because I wanted the cost efficiency, I'll call it, of Linux, but I wanted Web Jobs as well. Because if you've got a .NET application, you can run that on Linux or Windows. And I had an application that I needed to use a web job. It was the simplest thing for me to use, and I had to use a Windows app service. So sorry, Microsoft, but Linux is just cheaper. Public preview, MongoDB Atlas has an Azure native integration. What MongoDB Atlas gives you is a fully managed document database, but also with a native vector search capabilities. So vector search is used in, I'm going to call it AI workloads. So that can be very handy for you. You can provision directly in the portal, and you get a unified billing experience as well. And it also supports single sign-on for Microsoft credentials as well. Now generally available carbon optimization. So if you are an organization that is tracking and monitoring and optimizing your carbon usage, Carbon Optimize is now gone GA. So you can set yourself KPIs, look at the carbon intensity of the workloads that you are running in Azure, and work out how to both reduce carbon and cost save opportunities. Generally done by turning things off or scaling them down when not needed. Confidential. There's a public preview for confidential computing for Azure Database for PostgreSQL. So that's going to be really handy for certain highly regulated or controlled environments. So now you can do confidential computing, which gives you a hardware-based trusted execution environment. So if you do have regulation and frameworks that you need to adhere to, that can be an essential checkbox exercise. It's not just a checkbox exercise. I mean, checking the box to say you've got it. Sorry, I didn't mean it like it wasn't important. PostgreSQL extension for Visual Studio Code now has GitHub Copilot integrated. So that's now a public preview. So you now get context-aware IntelliSense, syntax highlighting. You get SQL formatting, all powered by GitHub Copilot in the plugin. Azure Function Flex consumption plans, this is a public preview, now supports availability zone and up to 512 megabytes of memory instances. So you can now go up to 512 meg in flex consumption, which is really good, gives you literally more flexibility. And it's available availability zones are a really important, we'll call it high availability strategy. So, for instance, they are available in availability zones are available in. I'll just call out the most important ones, I suppose. I say most important ones. Oh, I should go through the list. I'm not going to. UK South, West US 3, Sweden Central, West Germany, Germany West Central, Central India, East Asia. There are more. I'm not going to go through all of them. Azure Functions now generally available. Azure Functions support for HTTP streams in Python. So if you are using Python in Azure Functions, you can now use HTTP streams, which wasn't there previously. I'm not going to talk about that one because I've got too many to talk about. There's now an Aspire dashboard in Azure Container Apps. Now you're going to ask me what Aspire is. So .NET 8 added Aspire to it, which is essentially it's a dashboard for managing your .NET applications, which is its own application itself. So it's like a management plane for your apps. I've completely butchered that, but that's essentially what Aspire is. But now you can see that dashboard in the Azure portal for your Azure Container Apps. Which you could only previously do locally. So you've got native integration there. Welcome to 1995. Fuzzy text search is now available in Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL. So fuzzy search, if you don't know, it allows you to for your users to have more forgiving search experiences. So fuzzy search will essentially, if somebody makes a typo or uses an alternative spelling, or enters an incomplete term, you can get better matches against your data sources. So if somebody typos your name, Alan, I don't know. Let's go for Sam. Let's say somebody put, 5 SAM instead of SAM, if that makes sense. With fuzzy search, you will get a result for that. And you can usually set a threshold to say, hey, if it's 90% match, then still let it through. So that's really cool to see that as part of, you don't have to do that in your application. Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL also has another public preview for multiple language full text search. So previously it was only English. And now there is sorry, I'm just going to get the full list. Sorry, 2 seconds. Do I have a list? Currently supported languages. This is the important bit. English, German, Spanish, and French, which is going to cover quite a lot of your language requirements. So yeah, that's really good to see because full text search is very important. Public preview, Azure Cosmos DB Fleets. So it's essentially a capability to manage Azure Cosmos DB for multi-tenant SaaS applications. So I don't know if you've ever used what's it called in Azure SQL? An Azure SQL. What's it called? Damn it. I've got to Google it. Sorry, this is very unprofessional of me. Why is it just completely Elastic Pool? That's it. So imagine Azure SQL Elastic Pools. That's effectively what you get here in Cosmos DB Fleets. So you can simplify the management capacity, the capacity management by creating a pool of throughput RUs that can be shared in accounts in the fleet. You get all the security and performance isolation benefits of creating one Cosmos DB account to represent a tenant or end user, whilst also effectively sharing RU resources across the whole tenant to avoid over provision at the per tenant level. Very cool feature. Very cool feature. There is now a Visual Studio Code extension for Document DB. I'm not going to go into that now. Public preview. Introducing the Azure SRE agent. The Azure SRE agent is a new agentic, is that how we're saying it? AI service that can free developers from the constant stress of late night alerts and monitoring of production systems 24/7. Apparently, it can cut the time to determine root cause analysis to just a few minutes. SRE agent continuously learns from the application health and performance of production applications on Azure to build context and provide insights for faster troubleshooting. So if you're an SRE, they're coming for your job. Right. Copilot is now in SQL Server Management Studio version 21. That's now a public preview. So that AI assistant can help you with writing, editing, and fixing TSQL queries using natural language. I assume that connects back to the internet to do that. There is now an Azure App Service premium offering of V4. It provides faster processors, NVMe local storage, and memory optimized options running on the latest Azure hardware. It starts from 1 virtual CPU core and 4 gig of memory, all the way up to 32 virtual CPU cores and 256 gig of memory. Typically, we always recommend that people move over to the latest version because you usually get more performance bang for your buck. There are now generally available new availability zone features for Azure App Service. The key updates are that it's reduced minimum instant requirements for enabling availability zones from 3 to 2, whilst still maintaining a 99.99% SLA. So that's good. You don't have to have 3, you can just have 2. Enhanced dashboard visibility for availability zone information, including physical zone placement and zone counts as well. There are other key updates there, but I've just called out the most exciting ones to me. Now generally available dedicated GPUs in Azure Container Apps. I think we talked about this previously, but this feature supports NC A100 V4 CPU series GPUs. They're optimized to support your AI workloads. So you can they're offered as part of a dedicated platform and only supported in the workload profiles type environment. Right. You can now generally available. You can enable planned maintenance in Azure Container Apps. It allows you to control when non-critical updates are applied to your Container Apps environment to minimize downtime and impact to applications. Non-critical updates include minor security patches, bug fixes, and new releases. Critical and urgent updates, however, are applied as needed to ensure security and reliability compliance, even outside planned maintenance windows. You simply need to specify a day of week, a start time in UTC, time zone, and a duration. And this can be done both using the CLI and the portal. There will be GA pricing that will go into effect on the 1st of July. Now public preview, there is a VM network troubleshooter. On the overview blade in the Azure portal, there's a new troubleshooter tool allowing users to run network diagnostics for common ports being blocked. This generally it reduces the effort needed to catch some of the most common network issues. Not going to talk about that one. There is now generally available an improved free Azure SQL Managed Instance offer. Azure Managed Instance is effectively SQL Server that's managed in Azure for you. It can be a good stepping stone, or, well, you may just stay on it, way to migrate into Azure from on-premise SQL. So that free offer is now ready to is now generally available. So it basically makes it a lot easier for you to try out Azure SQL managed instance in Azure. So this can be good for when you are migrating and you want to test it to see how it's going to run in Azure. Azure SQL updates. The MS SQL extension for Visual Studio Code now introduces a schema designer, an intuitive visual interface to create, edit, and manage database tables, relationships, and constraints. So that's a really good feature. If it wasn't there before, that's part of Management Studio. That's now part of the Visual Studio Code extension. There's a new public preview for an automated testing framework for Azure Logic Apps. So it's called it's a preview of automated testing framework. It's only for standard Logic Apps. It allows you to generate unit tests from existing workflows or saved workflow definitions, edit and customize the tests within Visual Studio Code, and you can even execute the test locally and validation and iteration before deploying to production. You can use it in the CI/CD pipeline as well. Very handy. A new public preview for building agentic business processes with the agent loop in Azure Logic Apps. It's a new action now in public preview in Azure Logic Apps. So have you used this one yet, Alan?
Which one's that? Sorry.
Agent loop in Azure Logic Apps. It's a new action. So agent loop enables goal-based automation. So you define the outcome and the system figures out how to achieve it, adapting, reasoning, and learning in real time, just like Skynet. This marks a fundamental shift from deterministic automation to agentic intelligent business processes. So it's like a prompt-based action. Going to be very interesting to see. It's apparently got 1,400 plus connectors. So yeah,
on itself, it's like inception of connectors. Then
I assume so. So is it? Can you ask it like a question like, "Go get me a list of all the users in Entra," and it'll like connect and go and get it? I don't know, but seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm not going to talk about that one. Now generally available is private subnet. Currently, when virtual machines are created in a virtual network without any explicit outbound connectivity, they are assigned a default outbound public IP address. These implicit IPs are subject to change, not associated with a subscription, difficult to troubleshoot, and do not follow Azure's model of secure by default. The private subnet feature prevents this insecure implicit connectivity for any newly created subnets by setting the default outbound access parameter to false. You can then pick your preferred method to explicit outbound connectivity, such as a NAT gateway or public IP address.
That's good.
Yeah. Note that after September the 30th, 2025, new virtual networks will default to using the private subnets, meaning that an explicit outbound method must be enabled in order to reach public endpoints on the internet and within Microsoft.
Yeah, I think that's been a thing for a while, though, hasn't it? That you need to at least have a NAT gateway or firewall in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In public preview now, Azure Front Door now supports origin authentication via managed identities. So Front Door Standard and Premium now supports sending authenticated requests to its origins using managed identities. So it allows you to secure your origins by only allowing approved front door profiles to access the origins. It eliminates the need for customers to manually handle the credentials involved in the authentication process, thereby reducing potential risks and associated with credential leakage. Just a couple more to go now. No, two more. Sorry. Now in public preview, a scary. Well, I don't know. Is it scary? I think it's scary. Live resize for premium SSD V2 and Ultra NVMe disks. This feature allows you to dynamically expand the storage capacity of your disks without disruption to your applications. Ooh. To optimize costs, you can start with smaller disks and gradually increase their storage capacity as needed, without experiencing any downtime. Yeah. Fair play to the people that implement those types of solutions, by the way. And the last one, now generally available, Azure Quota Groups. Quota Groups are generally available, offering improved flexibility and control for enterprise agreement and internal customers. It enables quota sharing across groups of subscriptions, reducing the number of individual quota transactions. Check that out if that's something you need. Sorry, that was loads of updates. There were probably 2 to 3 times as many as that. So sorry if I didn't get to any of that.
It's probably our Purview discussion that put us over.
You see, I'm sure you were the Purview guy tonight, Al.
A rarity.
A wild Purview Alan appears. Fair play to the amount of Azure updates this month. Crazy. Well done. Right, Alan. What's our next episode?
So I suppose to maybe start a mini series of Purview, all the bits that at least I can cover from Purview. I think it's worth talking about the kind of what we talked about as well. Maybe talk about the additional data going into Purview generally, but also maybe focus on the generative AI bits, that how you can capture some of that. I think it's quite key to understand how easy it is to get that data going in, and maybe we can try and understand what that cost might look like with this new pay-as-you-go stuff coming in. So, yeah, I think we'll attempt that side of it next week, or next episode.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, please do consider leaving us a review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. It really helps us reach out to more people like yourselves. If you have any specific feedback or suggestions for our episodes, there's a link in our show notes to get in contact.
Yeah, and if you've been listening this far along, thanks ever so much, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks all.